approximately $500 billion. One bloodline. The Walton family is wealthier than 158 of the world's 195 countries. And what protects that wealth is not a contract. It is a 4,000-year-old myth, and we are still paying it. For the next 10 minutes, we trace one single trick. Invented in Mesopotamia, copyrighted in Latin, copy-pasted into Japanese, English, and Ethiopian, and repapered in 2026 as a trust deed, a constitution, an admissions letter, and a coronation oath. By the end of this video, the headlines will read differently. Once we see the pattern, we cannot unsee it. It starts with one Roman. 2,000 years ago, he solved a problem every emperor since has solved the exact same way. The solution still runs the Wall Street Journal, the Saudi royal succession, North Korea's military, and, as of last month, an 18-year-old in a Los Angeles smoothie shop. What was the trick? Hold that. Rome, 27 BCE. Octavian, soon to be Augustus, has won every civil war and inherited an empire he is not allowed to rule. The Republic killed Julius Caesar for trying to be king. The Senate would kill Octavian for the same crime. Calling himself a king is suicide. But ceasing to rule is also suicide. So he does something cleverer. He commissions a poet. Virgil writes the Aeneid. In Book 6, the hero Aeneas descends to the underworld and meets the souls of his future descendants. Among them, Augustus. The poem traces Augustus's family, the gens Julia, back through Aeneas to the goddess Venus herself. He never asks for power, he inherits it from a goddess. Within a generation, the Senate is voting Augustus divine honors. The empire is on autopilot. And every emperor who follows, from Tiberius to Diocletian, runs the same playbook. Build a temple to the Father, mint coins beside a god, write him into the founding story. Augustus did not invent a dynasty, he invented the receipt. Now, here is what is wild. The trick did not die with Rome, it got copyrighted in 3 more languages, on 3 more continents, while Rome was still standing. 712 AD. The Japanese imperial court orders a man named Ono Yasumaro to compile every founding myth into one book, the Kojiki. The opening genealogy traces the reigning emperor, line by line, back to the goddess Amaterasu, who hands the imperial regalia, sword, mirror, jewel, to her grandson Ninigi, who descends from heaven to rule Japan. Every emperor since is the great-great-great-grandson of the sun. Move west. A Wessex monastery around 890 AD. The Anglo-Saxon Chronicle records the royal genealogies. The Saxon kings, it says, descend through a chain of names to Woden, the war god, and from Woden back to Noah and Adam. Every English coronation oath since traces its authority through that chain. Move south. The Ethiopian Kebra Nagast, around 1322. Its central claim that the Queen of Sheba bore King Solomon a son, and that son founded the Ethiopian royal line, is so important that it is later written into the 1955 Ethiopian constitution. No one except the male seed of David, the son of Solomon, the document says, shall ever reign over Ethiopia. Rome, Japan, England, Ethiopia, same operation, 4 continents. Invent an ancestor no one can fact check, then make obedience to that family feel cosmic. And here is where it gets funny. In 2013, 2 geneticists at Berkeley, Peter Ralph and Graham Coop, published a study that quietly destroyed every European royal claim to exclusivity. Their finding: any 2 living Europeans share hundreds of common ancestors in the last 3,000 years. The geneticist Adam Rutherford put it bluntly. Literally, every European alive is descended from Charlemagne. In Asia, the math is similar. roughly 8% of all men in the former Mongol Empire, 16 million people today, carry Genghis Khan's Y chromosome. Descent from a great ruler is statistically meaningless. The myth that one specific descent matters is everything. The descent did not have to be real. It had to be exclusive. Most of us stop here. We tell ourselves that is ancient history. Our presidents are elected. Our parliaments are democratic. Our companies have boards. The next part is what makes it click. Skip ahead 3,000 years. The British Crown still passes by the Act of Settlement of 1701, the heirs of her body being Protestants. That is the operative clause. It governed Elizabeth. It governed her son Charles. And last month, April 28, 2026, it governed which Britain was permitted to address a joint session of the United States Congress. The room stood up. 2.5 centuries after a war fought to escape kings, America stood up for one. Japan's Imperial House Law, written in 1947 by Americans who thought they were modernizing it, still confines the chrysanthemum throne to the male line of Amaterasu. Emperor Naruhito's enthronement in 2019 included presenting the sword and jewel from her legend. 2,000 dignitaries from 180 countries watched. Saudi Arabia's Basic Law of Governance, written in 1992, confines rule to the sons of the founder king, King Abdulaziz, and the sons of his sons. That is the legal text governing 17% of the world's oil reserves. The British House of Lords ended its remaining hereditary seats earlier this year under the Hereditary Peers Act of 2026, but only after a 1,000-year fight to do so. And it is not only the formal monarchies. Vladimir Putin opened his 2024 case to invade Ukraine on a Tucker Carlson stage with a 30-minute history lecture starting in 862 AD, the Rurik dynasty. The historian who fact-checked him called it a complete falsehood. The audience did not need it to be true. Xi Jinping told the Chinese people in 2023 that their civilization is the only uninterrupted one in the world. North Korea swears its army to what it calls the Baekdu bloodline, the sacred mountain lineage tracing through Kim Il-sung. These are not metaphors. They are statutes. They are speeches. They are operative law in 2026. But the most precise survival of the ancient trick is not in Saudi Arabia. It is in Manhattan. And it is wearing a suit. In 1957, a medieval scholar named Ernst Kantorowicz published a book called The King's Two Bodies. He noticed that the phrase, "the king is dead," long live, the king had invented something extraordinary. A body that never dies. An office that survives the person. That doctrine, Kantorowicz wrote, is the direct ancestor of the modern corporation. Last December, in a Reno, Nevada probate courtroom, 3 of Rupert Murdoch's children each paid $1.1 billion to seal the family trust around their brother Lachlan. A $22 billion media empire. Fox, the Wall Street Journal, the New York Post, transferred by inheritance, not election. The Economist's headline did not strain. How Lachlan Murdoch ascended the inky throne. That is not a metaphor. That is the same legal grammar a Stuart succession ran on. And it is not only Murdoch. The Walton heirs, 3 living grandchildren of Sam Walton, added $172 billion to their fortune in 2024 alone. LVMH's Bernard Arnault has spent the last decade restructuring his holdings around his 5 children. Bloomberg estimates roughly $83 trillion in private wealth is preparing to change hands by inheritance in the next 2 decades. The historian Patrick Wyman calls this layer the American gentry. Not Forbes billionaires, the local landowners, dealership owners, mid-market industrialists who fund every state legislature and never lose an election. A medieval template in cargo shorts, and the academic gates. After the Supreme Court struck down race-based affirmative action in 2023, the data on legacy admissions finally broke loose. At Harvard, legacy applicants are 6 times more likely to be admitted. 70% of them are white. The Yale legal scholar Daniel Markovits puts the finding plainly. Meritocracy did not dismantle aristocracy. It renovated it. This is the part that makes it click. The Saudi Basic Law, the Japanese Imperial House Law, the Reno probate ruling, the Harvard admissions letter, Putin's Rurik speech, the Walton family trust, the Mount Baekdu lineage of Kim Jong-un. These are not 5 separate stories. They are one story told 5,000 times. The names change, the instrument changes, the grammar does not. None of them stand on a contract. They stand on Augustus's poem. They are one story told 5,000 times. The names change, the instrument changes, the grammar does not. That $432 billion from the start, that is not a Walton achievement. It is the present-day market value of one of humanity's oldest tricks. Convince a population that one specific family is the natural order. The trick did not die at Versailles in 1789, or at the Soviet collapse in 1991, or at the Arab Spring in 2011. It repapered itself as a trust, as a constitution, as a coronation oath, as an admissions form. The receipt that Augustus invented 2,000 years ago is still being printed. The font has changed. The signatures have changed. The myth has not. Next, we open one of those papers, the Harvard Legacy Admission Letter. The same Roman propaganda in Times New Roman on Harvard letterhead. See how the trick still works.